right, left, and step by step we'll move until the dawn. Yeah, we keep marching on. We're gonna keep on. We're gonna keep on. We keep marching on. Take steps to keep moving forward. Gotta push and blow the doors open. The future's ours, we see it, we know it. You can't stop the revolution, it's growing. Yeah, ahead, never back, the movement's here. We're staking our claim, the picture's clear. This is our anthem, this is our song. March on! Left, right, left, and step by step we'll move until the dawn. We keep marching on. I take my breath until there's nothing left. We're staying strong. We'll keep marching on. We'll keep marching on. We'll keep marching on. No maps when we travel the distance. Rise above the struggle and friction. Never stray when you're born with a mission. Eyes open, we focus our vision. Yeah, ahead, never back. The movement's here. We're staking our claim. We got no fear. This is our anthem. This is our song. So march on. Left, right, left, and step by step we'll move until the dawn. We keep marching on. I take my breath until there's nothing left. We're staying strong. We'll keep marching on. We'll keep marching on. We'll keep marching on. We'll keep marching on. Gonna burn like the heat from the sun. Never stop, the change gonna come. Stay in the fight till the battle is won. Left, right, left, and step by step we'll move until the dawn. We keep marching on. I take my breath until there's nothing left. We're staying strong. We'll keep marching on. We're gonna keep on. We'll keep marching on. We're gonna keep on. We'll keep marching on. If you leave me to my own device, I never have to compromise. The city is like a jungle, gotta make it mine. Put my fears right out of sight. Beat the hustle, better get it right. In a game where the strong survive. Only the strong survive. Your chains will not hold me down. The break and fall to the ground. Can't tame these lions inside. The power is raining like thunder, ready for a fight. These lions inside. These lions inside. These lions inside. These lions inside. I had to learn to be the hero. I started on a heaven zero. In a city like a jungle, I had to get mine. Never give, you gotta take. Be the catapult to storm the gates. Cause the champion is never giving in. See it through till the end of days. Till the end of days. Your chains will not hold me down. The break and fall to the ground. Can't tame these lions inside. The power is raining cutting through their skin. They're hunting down their prey to the bitter end. The ground that they're walking, they ain't cutting through their skin. They're hunting down their prey to the bitter end. The ground that they're walking, they ain't cutting through their skin. They're hunting down their prey. Let the games begin. Your chains will not hold me down. The break and fall to the ground. Can't tame these lions inside. The power is raining like thunder, ready for a fight. These lions inside. These lions inside. Can't tame these lions inside. Can't tame these lions inside. This ground that they're walking ain't cutting through their skin. They're hunting down their prey through the bitter end. The ground that they're walking ain't cutting through their skin. They're hunting down their prey.
Yo, what's up, everyone? Hello, man.
Good morning, everyone.
How are you, Matthew? How you doing?
I am reminded that I need to close down the YouTube tab or mute it, otherwise I get echoes. Other than
Yes.
that, I'm doing awesome.
Yes. It's been a while since you've been on the stream. I'm glad you're
It
here.
has.
Yeah.
It's the first time from the new home office, so
Yes.
new background, new audio, new setup. Fingers crossed everything works well this time.
Yes. Getting ready for snow. Or waiting for snow.
We're probably going to get snow here while I'm in Seattle for PASS next week. Probably not enough to use the new snowblower, but
Yeah.
we're really looking forward to being back where there is a real winter for the first time in 12 years.
Yes. Not just rainy mess. So,
Yes.
get it.
6 months of rain gets old after a while.
yeah. I don't doubt that. So, Thomas is asking, no swords. Where are the swords?
Swords, all the swords, right? There's 4 of them on camera. The fact that the other 12 or so aren't, because I knew Thomas would ask that, I did get one off the wall just to point. Just
There
to
you
point
go,
at Thomas.
There you go, Thomas. There we go. All right. Swords have been fulfilled. Excellent. All right, welcome everyone in the chat. Glad you're here on another Saturday. So looking forward to all the questions. If you're new to Gynacube or just the live stream, put hashtag new in the chat. We always love seeing all the new faces. Also, real quick, sorry I totally skipped this. I talk to Matthew every day, so I don't think about it naturally off the top of my head. But Matthew, for folks that may not know who you are, like, who are you?
So, hey, everybody. My name is Matthew Roche. I'm a program manager on the Power BI customer advisory team at Microsoft. So I work with Adam and Patrick all day, every day, day in, day out. And my team does some complementary work to the hands-on technical stuff that Adam and Patrick do. A lot of my focus is on organizational adoption and making sure that the Power BI product grows and evolves in ways that the enterprise customers, like those big organizations that have tens of thousands of Power BI users, that our capabilities are growing in ways that make it better for those super big organizations. So it's basically what I do. I get to talk a lot and not actually need to do anything.
Yeah, that's nice. That's nice. So, and for those not familiar, Matthew also has a blog as well as a YouTube channel. So definitely go check that out at ssbipolar.com to learn more. He's got lots of great content about career and just like strategy thinking, I would say is the best way to put it. So customer adoption, things of that nature.
Yeah, I started off blogging and YouTubing primarily about data flows when they were brand new. But like honestly, these days, most of the things that are very interesting to me are around the intersection of people and data. And this is a place where I saw there wasn't a lot of accessible content, at least not in the Microsoft data ecosystem. So having like another place to learn the things that most people aren't talking about, hopefully somebody will find it useful.
Yes.
And I have been known to go to a heavy metal concert or two.
Love it. Love it. Yeah, I've seen some of the pictures. You're always front stage on Manowar, or you try to be.
Always. If you're not in the front row, what's the point of being there?
Yes, exactly. All right. So thank you for that, Matthew. Happy you are here. And if you notice, Patrick is not here. He was actually on vacation, so he's traveling back home today. So I don't think streaming from an airplane was going to work. So let's also shout out to the members of GynaCube. You help us do what we do here on GynaCube, so thank you for that. I love seeing all the continued support. If you see people with a green name or the GynaCube logo next to their name, those are the members of GynaCube. So shout out to all y'all. And if you want to learn more about becoming a member, you can check out the link on the screen or hit the join button down below. No commitment required. Just thanks for checking it out, and very much appreciated. Members, hold your questions until the second half. Chatmaster C will let you know when your time is ready to post your questions. All right, let's check out see who's new here. I got to scroll up for this. And yes, Tom, I am from Long Island. I was born in Amityville, New York. So
that explains so much.
I live 2 blocks away from the Amityville Horror. Went to school with the kid that lived there. There's stories around that for. So if you're going to Pass Summit and you want to hear stories about that,
they actually had a movie about that.
They had several movies about that, and a book. So not about me. So about the house. So let's see here. Where's the star? Okay, Butter is new. I don't know, Butter. Butter's been around for a long time. I use it all the time. But thank you for joining. It's an interesting. I would. Someday I will love to know the meaning behind that tag. Devon's is new as well. That's all I'm seeing. And then Devon's new from Abu Dhabi. Wow, thank you for joining.
Ooh.
That's pretty far out there. Much appreciate that. Not seeing any other news. So, welcome everyone. Thank you for being here. Michael, normally when I start talking about it, that's when people catch on. So Michael is new from Poland. Wow. Sarav is new from India. Aaron's new from Ireland. Wow. Yeah. But Chris, that gets me all the time. Just the fact that people are joining from all over the world is bananas. Apparently, who knew YouTube was international? I didn't know that. And then Suraj is new from India. Wilson is new from Belize. Wow.
Belize.
Wow. That's a new one. All right. Daff, Babylon, New York. Yep. I know where that is. All right. And then Faisal is new as well. Excellent. All right. So let's get to the rules. For the questions, Q: in front of your question to get them queued up. 1 time is all you need. Otherwise, Matthew will have his swords ready. And Chatmaster C will also be standing by to put you in a timeout. We have a 3 strikes rule here on GynaCube. So please put Q: Chatmaster C will get them queued up. We don't get to all the questions. We never do. So apologies about that. If we don't get to it, come back next time. We'll try it again. If you do have a burning question, you want to make sure it gets answered, please put, or you could use the super chat. That always jumps the queue either on the regular part of the stream and or during the member only section of the stream as well. So please maintain the rules. Also, the rule is pinned to the top of the chat. Prefix the question with a Q: I don't know why that just says Q, but Q:. There we go. Also, there is someone new from Belarus. I cannot pronounce that name. I'm sorry, but welcome. Glad you're here. And Christopher is new from South Carolina. There we go. Excellent. All right, Chris, it does not have to be capitalized. Chatmaster C can figure it out. She's smart. All right, let's get to the queue. Matthew, are you ready?
I am ready. Let's go.
All right. Let's see. I'm just going in and I haven't pre-read any of these questions. So, let's see. What is the recommendation of handling chaining of measures in DAX? Measure 1, reference 2, which references 3, and so on. So it's kind of like the rabbit hole of measures. And each measure in the chain is optimized. But is there and it cut off. I don't know what the rest of that is. So in terms of recommendations for chaining things in general, so if we step back from DAX and just think about it, so I'll even put this in the context of, hey, let's chain a bunch of like data flows together or what have you. Matthew, what do you think generally about that?
Yeah, so I guess the biggest thing that I want to start with the disclaimer is I don't know anything about DAX. I can barely spell it, so I'm not going to try to answer that question.
Fine. Yeah.
But the more you decompose a solution down into little pieces that work together, generally you have better maintainability of the individual parts, but a lot more complexity in the solution itself, which makes troubleshooting, debugging, diagnostics harder. And often the technical debt that comes with that might, like at some point there's a tipping point where it can outweigh the benefit that you get of having the little things that work well together.
Yeah.
So keeping in mind, I don't do DAX, so Adam is going to keep me honest and Marco will keep me honest in chat.
Yes.
The thing that I would look at here is for the little, like the measure 3 that is referenced by measure 2 and measure 1, does it have value on its own? Is it actually useful to have that one little thing as its own standalone object? Or are you doing it just to be pure in your approach? If there's a real value for it, why not? But if there's not, don't do it.
Yeah. Just because you can do a thing doesn't mean you should do a thing. So in general, it depends. So actually also, so Marco chimed in as well. So I think this was related. So Marco said it depends. It's free on the chat. The real issue are measures evaluation repeated. Because of iterators and other constructs. So, and that's where I was going to go as well. I know Marco, Patrick, and I have had conversations about this where your performance. So yes, Kevin, thank you for tracking. It was definitely an it depends. So you have to be mindful about when you're nesting those measures, what are you doing with those measures? So like if you stick it in a SumX, which is that iterator, the evaluation of that could be very costly. And so with all things DAX, what I recommend is busting out your favorite tool, but when you bust out DAX Studio and you're testing, evaluate in Power BI Desktop, like those visuals, what's the performance of it, play around with those numbers and see what it is. And that will really tell you whether what you're doing is appropriate or not. So long life to DAX Studio, Marco said. Okay. So it depends. Test it. I like when you start to Matthew's point also, when you start getting down to like 3-4 levels, like the maintenance of that and like, are you documenting it? So like when you leave the team in 6 months and someone has to pick that up, are they going to turn into me and lose all their hair because they can't figure this out? It's a rat hole of whatever.
Are you going to be known as that guy after you leave the team?
Yes. So yeah. So just be mindful of that. So it may be okay, but test it, please. So I laugh all the time because in the comment also it said that, oh, we've optimized the measures. And I was working with I've worked with customers before when we get on, and of course they engage the CAT team at Microsoft when there's performance issues, and they get on the call and I'm like, okay, well, it's 9 times out of 10 it's either a DAX issue or a data or a model issue, and we need to go optimize that. And typically the immediate response is, oh, we've already optimized. Like, sure. Okay.
Well, let's
go take, you've called me. So let's go take a look. And then sure enough, like, I'm like, oh yeah, like I haven't even exhaustively looked at it, but just your screen sharing, I've already seen like 6 things we can go do. So yeah. So definitely take time to optimize.
And do you want to pitch Michael Kowalski's BI best practice analyzer
yes,
as
absolutely. Well? And I don't know, I doubt Alex is in the chat this morning.
Alex is on vacation this morning.
Yeah, that's what I'm assuming too. And I don't know if I did. I'm going to try this. I don't think I was that smart ahead of time. I need to set it up. But Michael Kowalski has done some BPA rules tied to tabular editor. And so those are out on GitHub. You can go download them. If you go to the Power BI blog and just search for best practice analyzer, you will get Michael's blog post come up, which has links to those items. Yeah, Matthew, no.
And if you don't know Michael Kowalski, he's another member of the Power BI Cat team. And he has been basically taking a lot of the things that we look at in our performance or optimization engagements with our customers and making and have Adam virtually looking over their shoulder, providing advice.
Yes. So that is the BPA rules. It's cat in a box. So is that Schrodinger's box? I don't know.
I'm alive.
Yes. So so Marco dropped the link in there. It's a Canadian link, so that's interesting. But a link nonetheless. Thank you, Marco. Sweet. And those rules, just to call out, because I saw someone mentioned Tabular Editor 3. Those BPA rules will work in both Tabular Editor 2, which is free, and Tabular Editor 3, which is paid. So either one works. So cool. All right, moving on. Data is king. And Matthew responded to this in the chat. Who has the ability to turn on data flows in Teams? The further context around this was related to data flows in Power Apps. And that is not something that Matthew or I have context on. Of note, during the countdown, I did install Power Apps and then it disappeared. So I do have it, but I haven't played around with it, so I don't even know. So I'm not sure. My guess is they probably just haven't enabled that yet. But we need someone on the Power Apps. I would recommend going over to Shane Young's YouTube channel. He's like a master with Power Apps, so definitely go engage with him on his channel. He would definitely probably be able to help you out. So, David, easy answer, global admin. Maybe if they haven't enabled that capability through the Teams app, yeah.
Yeah, and just reading between the lines, like for context, for those who may not know this, the same Power Query-based data flows, or very similar Power Query-based data flows that are available in Power BI, are also available in Power Apps. The Power Apps team has a different user experience targeting different personas because it's about app building rather than analytics solution building. And the Power Apps team has recently delivered some significant new integrations in with Microsoft Teams. So reading between the lines, it sounds like Data is King is expecting the data flows that are in Power Apps to also be available for the Power Apps in Teams. And this is where we get to the limit of mine and Patrick's knowledge, where we're just not sure what's supported, what's not, or who might have what switches to control.
And Adam's knowledge.
What did I say?
You said Patrick. That's okay.
God damn it.
It's the same thing. We're the same people. So Christopher, thank you for becoming a member. Very much appreciated. Yep. All right. Moving on. Let's see here. Matthias, you weren't first in today. What's going on? Hope
he
you're
slept
okay.
in.
Yeah, maybe. Although he's in Germany, so if he slept in, that's really late. Maybe it was a nap. Who knows? Okay, so horizontal fusion. Why should I care? When should I not allow the preview? So first and foremost, I will point you. I don't know if it's on the SQL BI YouTube channel. I don't remember if Alberto or Marco did the video. Maybe it was both. I don't know. But go check that out. They did a whole video on horizontal fusion, so I definitely recommend checking that out. In terms of why you should care, it's about performance, right? So it's an optimization to help with performance in certain scenarios. And so you may not see a benefit of it. You may, it depends. Yeah, okay. People are saying Alberto did the video. So excellent.
Yeah, and there's both the video and the expansive written blog post with code comments and so on.
Yes.
As Marco and Alberto often do with these difficult concepts, they give you multiple ways to work with it.
Yeah. So Marco, if you're still listening, feel free to drop the link to that as well. I think Marco is going to turn into the new Hey Alex. So the thing I've heard personally, like on horizontal fusion, is that this should fix everything, and no, it's for specific use cases. So trying to figure out, like, should it not, will it help? That's where the it depends comes in. And so it's based on query patterns and what the optimizer will catch in terms of how it can fuse those things together in certain circumstances. So go check out the SQL BI info to learn more. Excellent. And then also with regards to the question about when should I not allow the preview? When it comes to preview features in general, that's a business choice on whether or not you want to enable those or not. In terms of support of those, Microsoft will support. Microsoft wants people to use the preview features. That's how they get telemetry to help make sure it's ready to go for general availability. So if you do run into a problem with it, you can call support. They will, try to help. Definitely look at it. If there are issues with it, that will go back into the engineering team for updates and corrections.
Yeah.
So,
and for preview usage in general, the logic that I would suggest that you apply is to look at the information that's available. So Patrick is already, whatever this guy's name is, Adam has already talked about how horizontal fusion is designed to increase the performance for a set of well-known scenarios. So ask yourself and investigate, do I have the problem that a preview feature is trying to solve? Or is the capability delivered by this preview something that is important and relevant to my organization? And if it is, that's the gate to unlocking and start using the preview. If you don't have the problem, don't turn it on. If you do, then start working with your security team, your compliance team, or others that might need insight into what the new thing might do.
Yep. Cool. All right. OpenTube has a question. Is it possible to run Python scripts in Dataflow's query to grab data from web applications? Matthew's shaking his head no.
Nope. So Python and R running inside Power Query is supported in Power BI Desktop. And if you deploy a PBIX file developed in Power BI Desktop to the web, you then need to use a personal gateway, not the enterprise gateway. There's a whole bunch of technical details behind it, but the short answer is no. If you're doing it in Python, you can't do a refresh through an enterprise gateway, and you can't use it as part of a Dataflow's query.
Yep. So it's not even an it depends. It's just a no.
Yeah.
So like Christopher, I know you just became a member as well. So members, please hold your questions. We'll let you, Chatmaster C will let you know when to get your questions in. So that'll be at the second half of basically in 7 minutes ish. So she will let you know. Keep watching. Somebody's listening to Chatmaster C. That's good, Chris. Someone needs to.
Because Adam never does.
She knows that. All right, Evan. I've been testing the streaming data flows feature. I have about 1 gig of data per day flowing through a single flow with 1 day retention. Do you know what is the limit for cold? I think I need to up the
storage
amount of text. Sure. I don't off the top of my head. 1 gig per day.
It is my belief that the data that is produced and stored by a streaming data flow counts against the workspace capacity or user data quotas. So those are documented. I've never seen anything specific written down for streaming data flows as a feature.
Yeah. And I would also say, look, if that's something where you're hitting limitations and it's not working correctly, then maybe start looking at Azure Stream Analytics as a potential option from like a just more control and maybe broader scale on that front.
Yeah.
So obviously, I get why you're trying to do streaming data flows because it's inside of Power BI, and that's nice. So, yep. All right, Aman. Have you ever used Evaluate and Log? If so, what tool did you use to access the log? I have not. This was something that Jeffrey Wang actually did a blog post on with regards to what that is. And I haven't had time to play around with it. And so I'm not sure like the ins and outs of that item yet. My understanding is it was a fairly specific use case to use that. So in terms of reading the log, I don't know yet. So I can make a note, and maybe Patrick will be excited to do a video on that. So that sounds like a Patrick video to me. So stay tuned.
Good delegation there.
There it is. Well, so I mean, we have a thing here where Adam makes the videos that people watch. Patrick makes the videos that people need. Patrick knows this. We have the numbers.
Wow.
And so this is absolutely a Patrick video. So, yeah. He would not argue that. All right. Moving on. We still got some time. Sounds like a Marco video also. Yeah, absolutely. Chris Finland coming in. Member of 2 months. Thank you, Chris. Very much appreciated. And Chris said, thank you, Matthew, for your hard work this past week. It was amazing. I agree.
True story.
Yes. All right, John Smith coming in. Can I publish Power BI apps or dashboards with an audience with a pro license? Yes, absolutely. So the app capability in general is a pro feature. It's not a premium feature. The difference about distribution comes into if you are just using pro licenses. When you distribute to those users, the consumers of that data also need to have individual pro licenses. So where premium comes in is where you can do the large distribution without needing the individual named licenses. So it helps on that front. So typically with larger organizations, what I see is where they will have a subset of pro licenses for the authors. And then for the consumers of the data, they just let premium handle that consumption piece so they don't have to deal with licensing. But if everyone has a pro license, you can use apps. That's a capability that's available, pro or premium per user. So, cool. All right. Any other thoughts on that, Matthew?
Nope.
All right.
Don't need premium. You're good.
All right. Let's see here. I want to see if we can find. Just trying to scan here real quick. A lot of DAX.
So while you're going, I just want to say that Leslie's comment on top considerations for high volume, blah blah blah. I'd love that to be a brief discussion as we switch over to member chat.
Okay. All right. I will.
Leslie will keep us honest. I'm sure.
Yeah. So, all right. Let's see here. Oh my gosh. Let's grab Matthias. Let's see what this is. What kind of performance difference can we expect when using a report with the sources being Azure Analysis Services versus Azure Data Mart? So Analysis Services versus Data Marts. Whew. That's like apples and oranges right there.
Is it, or is it?
No, it is.
So, okay.
Absolutely. So analysis services is what we expect for like a data set, a tabular model, right? That's what that is. Data marts, I associate that more to like a SQL database. And so they're different in terms of what you're going to do with them versus what you could expect.
So I want to play devil's advocate.
Sure.
Or
I love
guy's
this.
advocate, as the case may be.
Yeah.
So Matthias says Azure Data Marts, but this is a Power BI channel, and Power BI has a preview feature known as Data Marts. So I'm assuming that he's talking about Power BI Data Marts.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I was assuming in my head Power BI Data Marts.
Okay. And with Power BI Data Marts, you basically get three pieces that work. I'm going to put this in cloud quotes, seamlessly together. You have data flows for ingestion, Power Query for ingestion. So you build your ETL functionality in Power Query. It then lands that into a SQL database that you can connect to and query directly using TDS, like any SQL Server aware query tool or application or API. But it also has the ability, the data mart also includes a tabular data set that it will create automatically for you based on the schema of that SQL database. And it does give you the ability to define measures and other tabular constructs in that data set. So if you're comparing apples to a slightly different flavor of apples, they're both tabular models, or assuming that you're connecting to the tabular model part of the data mart, it's a tabular model. And when you get to that, a lot of it then comes down to what are the specific features and scale capabilities for the different places where the tabular engine is running. For most common scenarios, I would expect the performance difference would be negligible. But as you're getting into like more uncommon scale or complexity, then you're probably going to have better control and better scale and performance with the Azure Analysis Services or a carefully curated Power BI Premium data set, as opposed to what you get with a data mart.
And I will play advocate to the advocate, going back to the apples versus oranges. And this, I'm just going to say it depends. If we're comparing analysis services to the data set that gets created with the data mart, typically what I've seen, it's not always the case, but typically what I've seen, if you're using Azure Analysis Services, it's an imported model. And so you're processing that with partitions. It's all imported. So
isn't the data mart an import model as well?
No, it's direct query. So that's where I'm going with the apples versus oranges, is it's going to be direct query. And so I think there's some longer term things of enabling import, but the way it is right now is it's a direct query model. And so that's where you're going to see performance differences there. So if you're importing it on the AS side, it's going to be faster versus the direct query model. So.
Yeah, and that's like my old man brain sometimes gets confused with what we were talking about a year ago or 6 months ago and what's actually available today. So thank you for keeping me honest there.
Yep. All right. So Chatmaster C has given the green light for members to get their questions in. She is clearing the queue. So as we do that, I will just mention real quick, we are going over into members only chat. So what this means is members and moderators will be able to participate in the chat, but only everyone else, you'll be able to watch the stream, but not actually be able to participate in the chat. But you can still learn a lot of great stuff and listen to the conversation. There were a bunch of other questions in the queue, which we didn't get to. So again, apologies about that. If you do have a burning question that we didn't answer and you do want it to get answered today, super chats always take priority. So just be aware of that. With that, I am going to kick over into member only chat. Save. And then also, again, remember Q colon in front of the question to get it queued up. One time's all you need. And then also, I just dropped the link again if you want to learn more about becoming a member. You can go check that out as well. All right, so we're going to start off first with, where did it go? You all, there we go.
Leslie's question.
Let me find it. I'm assuming it was the, I'd love to see a condensed video of top considerations.
Yes.
All right, there we go.
Yes.
There we go.
So this is where I bring the swords back into things. I'm going to tell the super quick story. Many years ago, like one of my mentors and idols in the sword world came to Seattle for a workshop. And basically he shows up with all the knowledge and he basically asks the audience, like, hey, well, like what should we focus on today? And somebody raised their hand and basically said, I want like really advanced techniques about this thing. And Guy Windsor, Dr. Guy Windsor, the sword expert that I'm talking about, he said, well, there is no advanced technique. Advanced technique is basic technique done very consistently well. And when we're talking about scaling Power BI to many billions of records, even though there are some things that you need to care about at that scale that you may not need to care about at smaller scale, the fundamental things that you need to do are to have a good data model and to follow the basic simple best practices that are everywhere rather than anything special or magical. You need to nail the basics and get used to doing those best practice things every time. When you have hundreds or thousands of records, that's what gets you ready for the billions of records. And then beyond that, that was the reason that I wanted to have this as the segue. Adam, he actually works with billions of records, so he might.
I work with trillions also. So I mean, with Pat or Matthew, I almost called you Patrick. Matthew is spot on. And I tell people this all the time. So a lot of the things that when Patrick and I do a video or we present at a conference, we talk about best practices. Usually there's someone that's going to ask the question of like, yeah, but I'm working with small data. Does it matter? And I'm like, it matters in the sense that if you practice those skills, then you become really good at doing that. So when you get that job working with billions or trillions of rows, and or when you go to apply for that job, you're like, yes, I'm doing all the right things. I know what to go do. I can prove that. I can answer those questions. And so take the time to do that. I will also argue that I've seen models with like 1 million rows that have taken down a P5 capacity. So it's not always about the millions or billion of rows. And again, they didn't follow best practices. And so those are things to consider. But when you're working with billions and trillions of rows, it's just super important that you follow best practices. You keep it simple. You keep it clean. And so those are things that you need to pay attention to. So one of the customer stories that was recently released is Walmart working with large scale of data. So it can be done. But you have to have someone that really knows what they're doing when you're working with that scale of data. And someone that understands those best practices and are following it. So practice now, get that ingrained while you're working with smaller data, even if it's Excel or a SharePoint list, and then you're better prepared for the future.
Yeah, and Leslie has dropped in a follow-up comment as well, letting us know that my response is somewhat orthogonal to her scenario and request. So maybe this is the playlist that Patrick will curate when he gets back. So that the guidance that is most important for this is more readily accessible.
Yeah. All right. Good point. So, all right. I like that discussion though. That was a good discussion, even if it was not what she was hitting on. All right, Tom coming in. When integrating a paginated report in a Power BI visual, now you're speaking Chris Finland's language, is it possible to filter the paginated report by a slicer from the Power BI and by a field that is only in the PR paginated report, but not in the Power BI report? Ooh, okay. So,
but you can't have a filter on a field that's not in the report. So no. Yes. Because otherwise you couldn't build the filter.
Yes. Actually, so the filters are going to be bound by the parameters you define in the paginated report. And so you can pass say if we have a field that's in the Power BI report and we align that to a parameter that's in the paginated report, then there's a value being passed in. Now, what you do with that value inside of the parameter definition is up to you. So it could be something else.
And when Tom said he's trying to avoid, he said he's trying to avoid importing text strings. So, so you would need to have some common ID, some surrogate key that's available in both locations, because you need something. Some common value or common language that both the interactive Power BI report and the paginated report.
It has to match. And, now the other challenge you have. Oh, go ahead.
Maybe Chris Finland will respond in chat as well, since he is here with a bear.
Yes. So one challenge you're going to have on the Power BI side, and I've gone through this before, is there's not this concept of like key value pair, where like in a you have a field or a slicer where it's a text string, but it passes the numerical key to the parameter, and so you're going to be passing a text string, and so you need to figure out what to do, and that has to match a text string on the paginated report side, unless your slicer is just 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I don't know how easy that is for consumers to understand. So cool. All right, moving on. Christopher, new member, coming in with a question. Any way to enable incremental refresh for folders with bunch of CSV files? Yes, there is. Talking about hundreds of millions of rows there. So I don't know how performant that will be, but I believe Chris Webb has a blog post, I believe, on doing just that. I don't know what it is off the top of my head. So go to Chris Webb's blog if one of the moderators want to help me out. I always forget it's like Cross Tech Train or something like. I forget the name of his blog.
Yeah. I don't know. I always Google it.
I Bing it. But use the search engine of your choice. And when you go to Bing, just type in Chris Webb and incremental refresh, and I'm sure something will come up. Yeah, cool. Ian and Klaus are saying cross-run. I'm assuming that's for something else. So, all right. So yes, so there is a blog post. You can do it.
And let's mention as well, there are multiple people talking about like the inherent flaw, like the fatal flaw in Christopher's scenario here.
Yeah.
Text files are like the worst data source, with the possible exception of SharePoint lists and Excel. So at some point, you're going to hit a limit here based on the fact that you've got just like a bunch of files in folders. So be aware that the steps that you're taking for incremental refresh now, this is kicking the ball down the court, which I think is a sports ball thing. But you're not actually solving the long-term performance problem.
Yep.
Ideally, that data would be in a location where you have some sort of compute associated with it beyond Power Query. Like, this can work, but it's probably not the solution that you want for the longer term. Having a data warehouse or data lake or similar location where there's intelligence and compute there will probably be necessary at some point.
And then thank you for expanding on that. And thank you, chat, as well. That was where my side comment when I was reading the question of like, yeah, it's probably not going to perform, but technically you can do it. So yeah, that's where warehouses are potentially your friend. All right.
And William mentioned in chat, you mean all the things most business users rely on? It's like, yes.
Yes.
Most business users don't have solutions that are based on hundreds of millions of things, right?
Yes.
So if your business users have an Excel file that they use to drive their monthly close or whatever their business process is, that's usually fine. But when you get into the specific very large scale that was called out here, it's important to understand some tools are good at some things and they're not good at other things. A bunch of flat files is not going to be a great data source when you get to significant data volumes. Like, it's a hard truth, but it's a truth.
Yes. I had a thing when you said a bunch of flat files, and then I realized I almost made a comment. I'm like, wait, that's not a flat file though. It's a file, but it's not a flat file. I was gonna say, what about Parquet? But that's not a flat file. It is a file. So. Yeah. All right. Sandeep, no date column, no index column. Multiple countries have the same total amount, but I still want to have country-wise running totals on amount columns in descending order. How do I do that? So I don't know where the date necessarily comes into play here. So, but country is a string, and you can sort by the country name. Does that not do it for you? So that's the first part.
Yeah, so Chewy nailed it. It's like more details, more context needed. It's like there's not a lot to go on here. Yeah.
In general, I would say, going back to what we started on the member chat thing about best practices and, getting your models shaped up in a way that works, is, think about those things and think about how do you get those items in play. But without knowing more about the scenario, it's hard to comment beyond that, because like if you have a column and you have a total, like you have a measure that's doing a total, in a table, it will break out by country. So it'll naturally be filtered that way, and you will see that, and then you can sort by country. So that will work.
Yeah, and as multiple people are calling out in chat as well, like fix your data model. Like you need a date column and or an index column. You need the raw materials to work with.
There's no magic.
Otherwise, there's no magic. You need to do the work.
Yes. Yep. Now there is magic inside a Power Query where you could generate an index column there. So, yep. Cool. Hey, Jason. Good to see you. All right. All right. Tickle Medley. I had to read that twice. Can you create a function in DAX to reuse a formula? For instance, function x equals x times y, and pass different measure x into the function for ease of modeling management. It depends. So that native functionality is not there with DAX, in terms of doing like function constructs in that nature, to my knowledge. Now, where I'm going with the it depends though is if you had like two separate measures and you may pass those in. Thinking about like if you stuff that in a variable and then you have that value to then go use that based on a condition, but I don't think that's exactly what you're going after. Yeah. Marco is highlighting that that feature doesn't exist, and multiple folks. And I have to say, I'm feeling really proud of myself right now. I know.
The first thing I thought of was calculation groups, and other people who know this stuff much better than me are putting into chat that calculation groups are the closest that you can get to functions as first-class citizens in data sets today. Yeah.
And he's Tickle Medley saying, trying to use a dry principle, have models with functions and many calculations, and it's difficult to update when business rules change. Yeah. So documentation of the model overall may help, but I get that that's a challenge when you have a lot of stuff spread over different models. And so, but also that's something going back to, is there something you can do there in terms of, are there opportunities there to push some things further upstream, to where they could be handled more cohesively, and or is there maybe an opportunity there for something like a composite model or something of that, where those things can be reused? I don't know the specifics of your scenario, so that may not work. So. Cool. All right. Let's see. Thomas. Has anyone worked with a customer with great data culture? Wow. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Lots of them.
Yes. And do you want to expand on that?
No, it was a yes/no question. So the short answer is yes. The longer answer is both the Power BI adoption roadmap documentation and the Building a Data Culture with Power BI YouTube series that I did back in 2020. These are basically the condensed, generalized practices that organizations with successful data cultures implement. And the nice thing, and I see like Chris Wagner is saying you called because the work that he did at his past employer was fantastic.
Yes.
But the best practices that you see, like me and Melissa Coates and others talk about all the time, there are real customers out there that are doing these things in their own specific way. Like Kevin is asking, like, is Microsoft one of them? It's like, Microsoft is not one company. It's like, I realize we're one company, but we are not one company.
That's what I was going to say. Like it depends.
And I think that there are definitely successful, mature, robust data cultures inside of Microsoft, but there is no one data culture inside of Microsoft any more than there is one culture in the United States, for example. Like we're one country, but depending on where you go, there's a lot of regional differences, whether it's food or music or politics or accents or whatever. You see the same sort of thing inside of Microsoft and pretty much any large organization. And for Leslie, for Leslie, I do not touch on data literacy assessment directly. This is something that we touch on briefly in the adoption roadmap, but very often this is so context sensitive, where the type of literacy that is important for a given organization or for a given persona inside a given part of a given organization, it's really hard to provide guidance that works for everyone. And you let me know if I can spend another 2 or 3 minutes on this, Adam.
Yeah, go for it.
Patrick,
go for it. Yeah.
So
Patrick said yes. So
the best practice that we generalize is to find that balance between managed self-service business intelligence and IT oversight, so that you have discipline at the core and flexibility at the edge. But we have seen, like, there's a major Northern European customer where they literally give every employee a pro license and they just keep buying more premium capacity. They are throwing money at their problem and it works for them. They've got a lot of duplicate data, they've got a lot of inconsistencies, but the problems that they're creating with this unmanaged Wild West approach represent significant progress over what they had before. They know that they're making a mess that they will need to clean up, but like, it's fine for them because it's better than their starting point. On the other side, and bizarrely, I'm going back to Northern Europe again, there's a logistics company that we worked with where back in, at least at the beginning of the pandemic, this is the last time that I had a dedicated touch point with them, they were using Power BI as their enterprise data platform, and they did not allow self-service business intelligence at all. So literally, like, they had tens of thousands of Power BI consumers, and they had tens of authors. So they had everything locked down. They were treating it as their enterprise platform because they were waiting for Microsoft to deliver more of the controls that they needed to feel confident, enabling more of this flexibility at the edge. So these successful data cultures will take a different flavor based on the starting point and the goals of an individual organization. It's really hard to go deeper into specifics unless you're able to focus on one particular starting point and an understanding of those goals.
Excellent. Leslie also called out that there is a great book on data literacy from Alberto Cairo called How Charts Lie. So you can go check that out.
And he also has an awesome presentation on that as well. And I want to highlight Alberto Cairo, also a huge heavy metal fan. So
yes.
Coincidence?
I think not. And we had him not too long on the live stream. So I will, at some point, I'll work on getting him back on and continue that conversation. Kevin saying, so you're saying define your goals. So one thing I learned from Matthew, like, we go into meetings, we go into discussions, we have chats with our manager, like, hey, we want to go do this cool project. Matthew is steadfast in bringing things back down, saying, what are the goals of what you're trying to accomplish? Can we define that first? Because then we can articulate how we move forward. And so that's, yes, define your goals.
Yes.
So, yes. All right. Cool. Rishi, where have we got to with admin insights? Can you give us a sneak preview of what it will contain when it's finally released, please? Absolutely, I can give you a sneak preview. If you go, I'm going to drop a link in the chat. It's over on the release waves, and it outlines what's coming next. And so it actually, let me head over to my machine, and we'll just show this. And so if we look, it actually labels out metadata for Power BI items, audit logs, report usage and performance metrics, Gen 2 utilization, feature usage, activity analytics. These are all things aligned to that Admin Insights capability. It indicates public preview as March of 2023. You now know as much as I know about that. So, excellent.
So I got to see a sneak peek at some of this over the past couple weeks as I was leaning in with the team working on Admin Insights. The big takeaway for me is that for the customers, those enterprise customers that my team works with, the Admin Insights team is taking like deeply taking into account the challenges around stitching together all of the various APIs that make this type of information available, and coming up with an approach that will both solve the most common problems that we hear from customers and provide a starting point that you can customize and build on, rather than needing to start with the raw materials of the APIs or audit logs and so on. So very excited to see this coming next year.
Yes. Well, and one of the things I've been waiting for and excited about is the usage metrics of how many people are using reports, not just at the workspace level, but holistically from the tenant. So I'm really excited about that. I've been waiting for it. So cool. Hopefully that helps, Rishi. I don't know if you were maybe setting something up or you honestly just wanted to know more, but hopefully that gives you an idea of what's coming. And then just in general for folks too, if you're not familiar with the release waves, so definitely go check that out. That is the roadmap for Power BI. So this is done, Microsoft does planning in what's referred to as semesters, so 6 months at a time. The semester that we're currently in started on October 1st and goes till the end of March. And so the link I had is reflective of the current semester. And so the next semester will start on April 1st, and they will do planning for that as they get closer. So that's where you can go to find that out. And the release wave does get updated over time as things change, priorities maybe change, things maybe get pushed out, other things get added in. So definitely go check that out. The other thing, because I get this question a lot, is it's not every little thing that's coming out. These are the big ticket items that are being worked on holistically. So there's always little things that come out, like in Power BI Desktop and things of that nature. So it won't be everything, but it's the big broad strokes of what the focus is for the product. Cool. Yep. All right. Let's see here. Eric, are there resources for integrating R or Python scripts in Power BI that you would recommend? So first off, I would say, so there is documentation on R and Python, like the visuals, as well as what you can do from a Power Query Online perspective or Power Query perspective. So check the documentation. There are limitations and caveats. Matthew touched on that earlier in the stream in terms of needing the personal gateway to refresh some of those items. So be aware of that. Also, there's a lot of great content out there from the community in general. I do know Kerbal, so check out her YouTube channel. She's been kind of going down the Python world a little bit from what I saw. So maybe go check out her channel. She may have resources. I will tell you on the Guy in the Cube channel, I have some video. We have some intro things just introducing R and Python, but we don't exhaustively go through it. I will also say, typically from my experience working with large enterprise customers, this doesn't come up a lot. Matthew is showing a T-SQL querying book.
So there, I saw someone drop Yitzhak Ben Khan's name in chat. So I have the 2005 version, which I guess kind of dates me, but absolutely plus all of the pluses for Yitzhak when it comes to T-SQL. He is
absolutely
the Marco and Alberto of T-SQL.
Yes, he's both of them combined into one person. So, awesome. Cool. All right. Jadwiga. Whoa, what just happened? There we go. Org is considering moving from report server to the Power BI service. What are the top 3 things that our executives, not report creators, should know about to be excited and support this change? What are your thoughts, Matthew?
First of all, I've never heard this question before, so I'm excited to think about this change. So the biggest thing is that moving from Power BI report server to the Power BI cloud service is how you get to take advantage of the billions of dollars of investment that Microsoft is putting into business intelligence. Power BI report server is specifically for delivering reports on premises. And for Power BI in the cloud, we're investing in a huge range of self-service and enterprise business intelligence and data-centric collaboration capabilities. It's kind of like saying, and I'm not sure if this is going to land well, but if I were no longer reheating frozen pizza at home and instead got invited to a 3-star Michelin restaurant, what should I be excited about? What are the top 3 things? Oh my God, all the things. It's kind of like that. So from a capabilities perspective, the cloud service is designed, so the Power BI service is designed to enable more people to do more things in more ways, to focus on enabling the business users to more effectively solve their individual, team, and department level data problems. So how do you become more data driven? Well, more people doing more things with more data more often. And this is what the cloud service delivers. So that's the big thing. It's you get all the toys instead of this one toy that you're familiar with.
And also, not having to manage on-prem stuff anymore and let Microsoft manage those resources and environment, and just play with the data and new integrations with Power BI reports and paginated. And the thing I'll also add on to that, I know that's not part of your question, but please, for folks out there, if you're coming from some of those on-premises tools like Cognos or reporting services or things of that nature into Power BI, find out where the right place is to leverage paginated reports, and don't try and recreate a Cognos or paginated operational report inside of a Power BI interactive report. It doesn't go well. So use the right tool for the job, and then find out where those integration points are to get the best experience out of Power BI.
I am dropping into chat the guidance on migrating to Power BI. So this is a very common question. I want to move from some other tool to Power BI to take advantage of all the things that makes Matthew so excited. And we have a maybe 5 or 6 article set of documentation that really breaks it down. Look at the goals that you're trying to achieve, look at what you're doing today, find the slices of what you're doing today that make the most sense to migrate to Power BI first, come up with a plan, blah, blah, blah. So definitely look at that, including if you're coming from report server on-prem.
Yep. Excellent. All right. With that brings us to the end of the stream. So again, apologies. There are still many questions in the queue. We didn't get to them, so come back next time. We will have a stream next Saturday. So because Patrick and I are now flying home on Friday, so we can do the live stream. And the Saturday after that will be Thanksgiving weekend in the U.S., so we will not be doing a live stream then. Also, Forever Twerp coming in with a $10 super chat for Patrick's beer fund since he couldn't be here. Appreciate that. Way to get it in the last minute.
So I do want to point out, you got $100 for beer last week.
That'll cover one night.
I feel very left out.
Oh, we'll share with you, Matthew. You can get a happy tappy. You can get a happy tappy.
On that note, I want to say thank you, Adam,
ice water.
for inviting me. Thank you to everyone for the awesome chat. And
yes.
If you're going to be at the PASS Summit next week, Tuesday, Melissa Coates and I are delivering a full-day pre-conference on Power BI adoption. It's not too late to sign up, either for in-person or virtual attendance. We've got an awesome day planned. On Wednesday, Adam, Patrick, and I, as well as others TBD, or at least TBA, are going to be bringing the BI Power Hour back.
Yes.
Thursday, I am doing that building, what is it? Something superpowers. I forget the name of my session, but I'm doing a session on neurodiversity and mental health on Thursday. And then on Friday, I've got a lightning talk focused on Roche's maxim of data transformation.
Nice.
And if I'm not on stage, I'm probably going to be somewhere at or near the Power BI booth. So please come say hi. Love to have a conversation with you. It's been far too long.
Yes.
And we'll make PASS the best PASS of the year.
And then also Patrick and I will have a session on Thursday. I honestly don't know what it is. I know, like, we've done it. It's like, I know what it is. I just, off the top of my head, I don't remember which session we're doing. And then Patrick will also be part of the keynote on Wednesday. So he's excited about that. He's going to show some cool stuff. But absolutely, Power Hour, very excited for that. So if you are there, be sure to get there early. It's always standing room only for the Power Hour, especially at PASS. That group knows about the Power Hour, so definitely get there early. So you can make sure you get in and get a seat. So hopefully I can get in.
Do we know if the Power Hour is going to be accessible for online attendees this year?
I will follow up. Yeah, I will. I'm going to assume that all the sessions maybe are accessible. I don't know. I need to follow up on that. I will
Cool.
stay tuned to the Twitters. I will post that information there. I'll also drop some information on the community tab of the Guy in a Cube YouTube channel, as well, just for info on the Power Hour. So if it is available online, but that also means you have to be registered at PASS to view it online.
Yeah.
So be aware of that. All right. Excellent. So Matthew, I will see you in a few days. And everyone else,
see you in Seattle.
I will see you next Saturday. So, all right. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Take care.